Lord, let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat.
What's up, everyone? It's Timona from SheLovesThee podcast. I'm here with a public service announcement. It is official. SheLovesThee podcast will be sponsored by iWeave Hair for the upcoming 2023 football season. That's right. I will be promoting and representing the #1 source for all your premium quality hair extensions. I'm super excited to be a part of this company that not only has women looking beautiful, but invests in HBCUs. Stay tuned for upcoming deets. And of course, I had to end with I weave, do you?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is SheLovesThee podcast. Of course, we have a show tonight, y'all, because today is Jackson State's Founders Day, but it was also supposed to be the initial date for the announcement of the president. Uh-oh. Let me know if you guys can hear me. It looks like I'm having technical difficulties. They do not want me to do this StreamYard today. All right. So basically what I did was I compiled a timeline for the president's search. And we're just going to basically go through it and see like what is taking so long? What is going on that they've decided to postpone announcing that the president, and where do we go from here? Let me see if I can pull my slides up, y'all. I haven't had this many difficulties in a long time. I've never had this much, but let me see. Let me see if I can come back in here. Sorry, y'all. Okay. So it looks like it's working now. All right. I'm sorry about those technical difficulties. All right. We need to get into, I will not be doing anything allegedly. So anything that I say on this platform, all of it will be based off of either the IHL website or a news source. I won't be doing anything allegedly today because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to share any type of information that is not accurate. I want to make sure I don't think it's fair to prematurely announce or say somebody's name. So for this particular live, we're just going to go through all of the facts, starting with the beginning of President Hudson going on a leave of absence to our interim president, Dr. Anthony, being announced as the interim. And we're just going to go through the timeline. And no, I do not plan on bringing in May Arn because Ed Reed is definitely not in the running. I can say that with confidence without saying allegedly. Ed Reed is not going to be in the running to become the next president of Jackson State University. I have a poll in the chat, and basically I want to know your thoughts on the current president search. Is it taking too long and it's too secretive? Is there no need to rush for a new president right now? Is the president search going well? Or do you just want it to be over? Just go ahead and name somebody. So that particular poll is in the chat. So go ahead and place your ballot so that we can see what the majority of the viewers feel regarding the president search. Interesting enough, when I started doing my research, what I actually found is there's a lot of information about the president search outside of actually naming any of the candidates. So other than that, we've made sure to have a lot of transparency. The only thing that they aren't transparent on is the actual names of who the possible candidates can be. And what I actually found out was that the process and the way that IHL is doing this president search is not exclusive to Jackson State. It's not even exclusive to HBCUs. So we'll look at another university, which is a PWI, of course, or a historically white college that went through a presidential search, and there was a complaint about transparency. And that's when we find out, oh, okay, so this is just how these president searches are run. Then we'll go over what are some reasons that they're so secretive with the names. And I'm going to open up the chat to have a conversation with you guys because I want to know, what do you guys feel about this? We are going to limit the live to probably about, I'll say, an hour and 15 minutes because, as you know, it's Monday and we don't want to bump heads with Ken Clark. There's some folks that were looking forward to Ed Reed bringing in that billions of dollars to become the president of Jackson State University. I'm not going to lie. When I heard that he had those type of dollars behind him, it made me take a second look. How you doing, Mr. Walker? Oh, I have a service announcement as well. And this is just to, for a lot of times I do have a playful type of live and we joke around and but for this particular live, it is going to be very serious. So what that means is that my mods are not playing all that extra in the chat now. Like if it's about Airy, but like football beef and all that extra stuff, we're not doing none of that tonight because this is very, very important. It's a serious matter. So we're not on the kicks and giggles tonight. This is very serious. This is for the future of Jackson State University. So we want to make sure that we serious tonight, y'all. We can kiki a little bit, but for the most part, this is serious business. So let me go ahead and read this poll and see what y'all think. My mods is in the chat and they do put you in timeout, and then if you get on their nerves, they'll block you. It's not me. I didn't do it. But I stand by them. I don't tell them what to do. They got that on lock. So it looks like we've had about 63 votes so far. So I have almost 80 people in the chat. So what do you guys think about the current process of the Jackson State presidential search? Do you think that it's taking too long and it's too secretive? There's no need to rush for a new president, that it's going well, or do you just want it to be over? Let me know what you guys think. Me personally, I think that after doing some research and learning that there was over 79 candidates that submitted their names to become the possible next president of Jackson State University, I started thinking, oh, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe they are doing their due diligence and taking this carefully. So maybe I shouldn't give them a hard time, because I want to make sure that whoever they decide to hire is the best fit for Jackson State University. Our current interim, she's doing an excellent, phenomenal job right now. Let's not rush things. If they need to do some due diligence or something came out and they felt like that person that they thought they were going to go with wasn't the best decision, let them take their time. I'm going to read some of these comments. It says, I really think they're being too secretive to avoid controversy in case there is a person on the list most of us won't like. Miss Rochelle says 79 candidates is a lot. I agree. All right, let's get into the swing of things. I'm going to remove my face off of the screen. So here's a timeline that we're going to look at. So Jackson State University Faculty Senate voted no confidence in JSU President Thomas Hudson, January of 2023. It came out of nowhere. Everybody was like, whoa, what? Why are they saying that? Why are they saying they don't have no confidence in our president? What's going on? What's happening? And so a couple months went by. And at this point, some of the things that came out were basically safety issues on campus and, you know, just some concerns that they had with transparency as well with, at that time, our current president, President Hudson. And I will go ahead, just because I am one that goes ahead, and I'm going to drop most of the sites that I have or where I get my information from. I will be dropping those links in the chat so that you will be able to follow along as well. In the event that you want to second guess or question me, you'll be able to go read the article for yourself. So once again, this is apnews.com. And this is March 15th. The president of Jackson State University will resign at the end of this month. They put him on paid administration leave, and they did not disclose why they have put him on leave or why he ended up resigning, which in the state of Mississippi, in the IHL, they have confidence clauses or privacy clause where they do not have to reveal that. So basically, the reason why he resigned, that will never be disclosed by IHL. They're able to keep that basically confidential based off of some type of exemption that they have in their bylaws. So moving on. So after he basically resigned, effective March 31st, we have interim president Elaine Hayes Anthony was announced. All in those couple of weeks, there was also a board search committee chair named for the Jackson State University presidential search. And interesting enough, the board chair is an alum of the Jackson State University. So I'm going to go over the IHL search committee and who it's comprised of. So our chair is Dr. Stephen Cunningham, and he's a board certified diagnostic radiologist, a full partner and current president of Comprehensive Radiology Services in Hattiesburg, and he is the graduate of the Jackson State University. Then we have Dr. Ormella Cummings, and she serves as the Chief Strategy Officer for North Mississippi Health Services. She facilitates the evidence-based planning process. And then we have Bruce Martin. He was appointed by Phil Bryant to represent the 1st Supreme Court District, and his term expires in 2027. G. Ogletree was appointed to the board by Bryant in 2018. His term doesn't expire till 2027. And Hal Parker was appointed to the board by Bryant in 2012, and he was reappointed by Governor Tate Reeves in 2021 for his term to expire in 2030. So this is the search committee that is responsible for going through the interview process with the candidates. And interesting to note, which I will drop that works cited, usually whenever you have a president's search, the interim president is not allowed to be in the running for permanency. And that is basically in their bylaws. So if you are a member, or excuse me, if you are the acting interim president, usually you are not allowed to run, or not run, but place your name in the hat to be chosen as a permanent president. What they did was they had a vote. So anything that they do, of course, you can undo or you can go around it. And so one of those things that they did was they did a vote. And interesting enough, Stephen Cunningham declined or did not vote in favor of the interim president, Elaine Hayes Anthony. He did not want to allow her to put her name in the hat to run for a permanent role. And his reasoning was that he felt like that would discourage others from applying. And I'm going to actually show you, these are the IHL Board of Trustees policies and bylaws. And I'm going to actually also drop that in the chat, because this basically gives you an outline for how they go about the business of choosing their how they go about choosing their president, what type of interview processes they go through, and why they're not giving out names of finalists. In the state of Mississippi and a couple of other states, actually, they do not have to name other people at all. And so that can be seen at the bottom. So this is basically giving you the search process. So if you ever want to know, well, why are they doing that? I promise you, the information is literally in this policies and bylaws. It talks about the Campus Search Advisory Committee, which I will go ahead and let you know who those particular people are. It talks about recruitment, screening, interview search, the first interviews and second interviews, and then preferred candidate. So this is in the bylaws. Excuse me. So we should be hearing that a preferred candidate should be announced because it says it right here. After all of the above has been completed, the Board of Trustees will meet to hear from the Board Search Committee regarding an assessment of each candidate. The Commissioner's assessment will be sought. The Board of Trustees will then select and announce their preferred candidate. So there should be an announcement for a preferred candidate. This is based off of the bylaws. What we didn't see was the announcement of the preferred candidate after we were told that on Founders Day, they would be making an announcement. So then there was another, after they announced the preferred candidate, there's supposed to be a time where they make a decision. They meet after on-campus interview session and they review the feedback, and then they vote to name the preferred candidate as the institution's new institutional executive officer, or they vote to continue the search. So we go from October 6th, where they are sure that they're announcing on Founders Day, to having an emergency meeting, and then whatever was discussed in that emergency meeting, now all of a sudden they're not announcing anything. So just following the policies and bylaws, and I'm not going to allege anything, but if you follow the outline of how it works, we're somewhere in between second interviews. We're somewhere in between second interviews, preferred candidate, and campus interview. We're somewhere in between there. So the last thing that I wanted to point out was the application by interim institutional executive officer for institutional executive officer position. An individual currently serving as the interim institutional executive officer at a university shall not be considered as a candidate for the permanent position for which he or she serves as an interim at the same university. However, an individual currently serving as interim may apply and be considered for a permanent position at a different university. This policy does not prohibit a candidate for any positions that subsequently become available at the same university. So, that is what the original guidelines and policies was. That if you are current acting president, then you are not eligible to submit your name in the hat for a permanent position. But what they did was they made I guess like it's almost like an amendment because they're the ones that make up the rules, so they can also change the rules. And so this happened mid-August. It says only JSU alum on IHL board votes against allowing active president to apply for permanent role. It says a slim majority of the governing board voted to allow acting president Elaine Hayes Anthony to apply for the permanent role. According to executive session minutes, 7 trustees voted for the motion and 5 voted against, including Dr. Stephen Cunningham. And he indicated that he didn't want to scare anybody off from applying. The IHL Commissioner Al Rankin said that the Presidential Search Committee is working to make a hire by the end of the calendar year. And all he could say is that a high-profile alumnus and a previous applicant that was highly rated are among the current applicants. We don't know who they were, and they're not going to release it, but that was in August. Okay. I'm going to just go over, because this is the only candidate that I could really talk about, because that's the only one that without a shadow of a doubt I can say their credentials and not be biased, because I'm just basically reading what it is that she has going for herself as far as how many years of experience that she has. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And for me, when I read what she had going on, her years of experience with accreditation, and then just how she's been moving for the past, 6-7 months? For me, I felt like she's been handling a lot of situations that's come up in the past 6 to 7 months, as a president should. So I'm going to just read a little bit about her. So Dr. Elaine Hayes Anthony was named acting president of Jackson State University. She's a native of Jackson, Mississippi. She was the first African-American female anchor, producer, and reporter for WJTV TV 12. She's the former dean of JSU School of Journalism and chair of Department of Journalism and Media Studies. Under her leadership, the department received national accreditation from the Accrediting Council of Education in Journalism and Mass Communication. In addition, she's expanded the sequence offerings to include public relations and advertising. Anthony has also been appointed the Assistant Superintendent of Public Information and Staff Development for the Jackson Public Schools District and spokesperson for the Board of Trustees. She operated as Assistant Superintendent for 7 years before serving as an educational consultant. She then joined Belhaven University as the founding head of the Department of Communication. A former tenured full professor at Belhaven University, Anthony is currently a tenured full professor at JSU. Maximizing her media talents, she has served as host of her own television program entitled FYI with Elaine Anthony. Anthony has served on more than 15 accreditation teams for the Accrediting Council of Education in Journalism and Mass Communications. She has also worked as a consultant for Florida and the Louisiana Board of Regents on journalism education. She was appointed to the Education Task Force for the state of Mississippi, and she was appointed by Governor Haley Barbour and Phil Bryant to the State Department of Health, where she serves on the Audit Committee and Communication Committee. She's a member of the Jackson Association of Black Journalists, a member of the Advisory Board for iHeartRadio, a former member of the Randolph Hearst National Scholarship Committee, and a former member of the Board of Visitors for the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She received her bachelor's degree from Jackson State University. She received her PhD from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. And she's the wife of Eddie Anthony, and they have 1 child and a grandchild. Let me stop. So, Let me read the comments. Dr. Anthony has been in academia for many years. She's definitely qualified for the job. The problem is none of the JSU shareholders, faculty, staff, students, alumni, as groups were involved in the process, which is standard practice for how IHL hires HBCU presidents. And so we're also going to go through some of what they did do. So let me go back to my timeline. Okay, so after she became the acting president, then they had campus listening sessions, which a lot of people are saying that these online listening sessions and the on-campus listening sessions, that they were basically just to save face. Because as far as the involvement of the actual search goes, it's extremely lacking. There was an article that came out recently, and the search advisory constituency, there was a lady on there, and she indicated that they have not, even with the advisory board, they're not being forthcoming with details. So it's like they hired an advisory board, they had all of these listening sessions, but as far as making the actual choice for who the president will be, they have not included anyone in those conversations. I'm going to read to you who the search advisory constituents are. They selected 7 members representing Jackson State University, and they include Mr. Robert Cook. He's a community member. Brigadier General Robert, I don't want to pronounce his name incorrectly. I think it's Creer. He is a Jackson State University Development Foundation Board. Ms. Patrice Edwards is the president of the Jackson State University National Alumni Association. Dr. LaTanya Harper is the president of the Jackson State University Staff Senate and assistant to the Dean College of Liberal Arts. And I want to say, I'm going to pull up I already have the article pulled up, but I want to say it was Dr. Harper that was speaking up for the lack of transparency, even with the advisory board. So basically, you guys hired an advisory board and you're not even sharing information with them. Mr. Jason Johnson is the president of the Jackson State University Student Government Association. Dr. Dawn Bishop McLinn is the president of the Jackson State University Faculty Senate and professor, Department of Psychology. And then, of course, our vice president and director of athletics, Mr. Ashley Robinson. So it looks like they have a nice, I'm going to drop this news article in case anybody wants to go back and look at it. It looks like they have a wide range of representation for the advisory constituency, but unfortunately, they have not allowed for the advisory to make any types of moves with regards to who is being chosen. So I'm going to move a little bit forward in the interest of time, because I do want to give people the chance to have a discussion. It says JSU waits for news from IHL as trustees interview finalists behind locked doors. This particular article is dated October 10th, 2023. Elaine Hayes Anthony confirms she didn't make the cut. Now, this is on October 10th. And I will go ahead and drop this in the chat as well. This is the picture of Shelton Pittman, who was using a whiteboard to deconstruct his thoughts on IHL's presidential search process on October 9th while trustees are in executive session. And one of the main overall complaints is the lack of transparency. So basically, they'll have these meetings and then they'll have like an executive meeting where it's behind closed doors. So they'll have like a meeting that's open to the public, and then they make a motion for executive session, which is behind closed doors. Okay, so here it is right here. So it was Don McLinn. So Don McLinn was the professor and the faculty senate president who was hoping to ask Cunningham and the IHL commissioner, Al Rankin, why they had not responded to her repeated emails asking for basic information about the presidential search, such as a rough timeline, which she did not see until Mississippi Today published it. Even though she's a member of IHL's Search Advisory Committee, IHL had not provided McLinn with any notable information about the search. But they had asked her and other advisory committee members not to talk to the media. So basically, what's happening is IHL is the one that's talking to the media. And with the way that they're running it, it's so secretive that you really don't know what's what. They will put out when they have a meeting, but you don't know what they had a meeting about. This is the listening sessions. So what they did was they gave faculty, then they gave students, and then they gave the community the chance to basically talk about what it is that they're looking for, what is most important to us. And some people might say that they did that just to clear the air for themselves, meaning it wasn't for due diligence. It was kind of just like, okay, we did what we were supposed to do, and that's all we're required to do. And a lot of people are not happy about that. So if you would like to, I dropped it in the chat. You can go back and listen to the faculty and staff, the students, and then the alumni and community who came to them and let them know what type of candidate they're looking for, what is most important. So they actually did compile, and it's like 44 pages long, and 43% of people who took the online presidential search, they were alums, or they identified themselves as alums, while 11.5 were current students, 9.9 were the faculty members. So it said, what attributes of the institution, the strengths and opportunities that makes it appealing to candidates? So what are the attributes? So 14.2% said the athletic programs, 13.4% said community support, 8.3% said the size of the institution, 18% said academic reputation, 12.1% said research opportunities, campus and atmosphere was 15.4%. So as you can see, it was pretty evenly that Jackson State has a lot of strengths and opportunities. What are the challenges that the institution is facing? State appropriations, faculty and infrastructure, enrollment, need to increase federal compensation, student preparedness, faculty compensation, and then the cost of attendance. What attributes should we seek in candidates to be our next president? Community perspective, experience with legislature, partnership builder, leadership vision, service-oriented, fundraising experience, academic credentials, experience managing, I'm pretty sure that says higher education leadership. So these are all the attributes that you feel like the next candidate should hold. I don't know if anybody has taken a look at the amount of money that Jackson State has been bringing in these past couple of years with research dollars, but it's probably one of the highest in the HBCU realm. I know, especially in the SWAC. Of the attributes you selected, which one is the most important? And it's leadership and vision. Experience managing higher education leadership. So leadership and vision is the number one attribute. So when they asked how important is it that the next president is an alumnus of the university, 75 people said it's not important at all. About 35 said it's not very important. 85 to 90 said it's important. 40 said very important. And I think like 65 said extremely important. It says, how important is it that the next president has a vision on how to capitalize on Jackson State's position as an urban research university? Most people said that it was extremely important that the next president has a vision. And then I'm going to drop the actual whole synopsis, or not synopsis, the compiled information in the chat. But it's interesting, and you should look at it. And I'm just going to read, like, some of these things talk about leadership and the importance of making sure that the person that's hired has the best interest of Jackson State University. I think that's a theme that's been brought up over and over and over again, is the need for that president to have some sort of tie. So here we are with the president search. So this particular website, it'll basically tell you, they'll put it out there when they're going to meet. Dre, that's what I was trying to tell you, is they already did make that exception. So in August, they voted to allow her to go ahead and put her name in the hat for permanent role. And she was, by a 7-5 vote, she was able to get the go-ahead for that. All right. So I dropped in the chat the president search. So this website is for IHL. It basically is going to tell you when they meet. So they'll just put out like an emergency meeting. So a couple of weeks ago, they had an emergency meeting, and then we thought they were going to announce it on the 6th, but apparently they decided not to. So now the last thing that I'm going to go over before I open it up is regarding the secrecy. I'm not necessarily playing devil's advocate, but what I am going to do is I am going to let you guys know that the presidential search that's going on is not the level of secrecy. That's not the first time that that's happened, and it's not the first time that it's happened for a university outside of Jackson State University. So the list of applicants for the top job at the University of Arkansas, including a familiar name to many Mississippians, Rodney Bennett, the recently departed president of USM. Bennett's name, along with 20 others, was published by a local newspaper earlier this year on his second to last day in the Dome. The governing board in Arkansas had released the list under the state's open record law, which mandates that the names of all applicants for public office, even unsuccessful ones, are subject to disclosure. But in Mississippi, Bennett's replacement was determined through a process that was operated almost entirely in the dark. Here in Mississippi, applicants for the position of college president are considered confidential and therefore exempt from public records requests. At USM, the campus didn't know who was being considered for the job until late October, when the Institution of Higher Learning Board of Trustees suddenly cut the search short and announced it was permanently hiring Joe Paul, the interim president, without advertising the position. Across the universities in Southeast Mississippi and Arkansas represent two extremes: total secrecy and complete openness. In the often controversial search process for identifying leaders of public universities, according to the review by Mississippi Today of state statutes, governing board, and news articles, Arkansas is the only southern state that has a search process that is entirely transparent, while Mississippi is one of 3 states that keeps secret all applicants but the sole finalists. So basically, you're never going to know who was in the running. That's how it is in the state of Mississippi. Unless somebody on the board slips up and says something, which they're pretty much not going to do because that would jeopardize their job. Mississippi is one of the 3 states that keeps secret all applicants but the sole finalists. Judith Wild, a professor at George Mason University who studies presidential searches, describes searches like this. It's sort of like in The Wizard of Oz. At the end, they raise the curtain and there's only one person. So this is a map that basically talks about confidentiality in university presidential search process by southern states. So in Arkansas, they have an open search. In Louisiana, the applicants can be secret. In Texas, the semifinalists, so if you have 3, the other 2 can be secret. And then in the state of Mississippi and in North Carolina, only the sole finalist is announced. So you won't ever know who the top 3 are. You'll only know who the sole finalist is. And this is just based off of how they do searches. The review found that of 16 southern states, a plurality of 7 have statutes or policies in place that permit universities to announce multiple finalists for president. In practice, however, universities often flout those rules by claiming they can only announce one finalist because the others withdrew their names from consideration. Even though the University of Florida was supposed to name multiple finalists under a new state law, the board announced only one, saying that out of the dozen candidates interviewed, all requested complete confidentiality unless they were named as the sole finalists. In Louisiana, applicants for public office are public record, but in 2015, a judge ruled that LSU only needed to turn over the names of 4 applicants who were interviewed or withdrew their names from consideration. In some states, each individual university board can determine how secret the process is going to be. In Oklahoma, for example, OSU's board has maintained that it must hold in strictest confidence the identities of applicants, while Northern Oklahoma College announced multiple finalists for president last year. Wild said that when university presidents are selected in secret, the community doesn't get a chance to determine if they're qualified for the job, even though the position is among the highest paid in every state. Many of them are making more than $1 million now, and yet there is no other public executive who is hired in secret. The president of the United States, they go through sometimes as much as a year of being vetted. At public universities, presidential searches are mainly led by governing boards. It is often considered a board's most important function, but the process used to be more collaborative. Wild has said that in many states, boards used to form search committees of students, faculty, and staff who would write and post ads, interview candidates, deliberate in public, and invite finalists to meet the whole campus community. Now, secrecy is the norm. In 2000, Mississippi was one of 7 southern states that allowed public universities to keep presidential applicant names confidential, according to an analysis by the National Association of College and University Attorneys. As of this year, that's permitted by all but 2 states. Wild attributes this trend to governing boards' increased reliance on executive henhunting firms that often require confidentiality in their contracts to their benefit. When things are a secret, the search firm can use the same candidate over and over again without having anybody know that. Many universities say that confidentiality is necessary to attract the best candidates who won't want to risk inviting ire at their current jobs by publicly applying elsewhere. But research by Frank Lamonte, the director of UF's Bretschner Center for Freedom of Information, found closed searches didn't result in more candidates from highly ranked universities than open searches. Rather, Lamonte found that closed searches tend to correlate with universities hiring from inside their system. Excluding the public from participation in the hiring process appears to accrue benefit of insider candidates, he wrote in an op-ed published by the American Association of University Professors. So, there you have it. I'm going to drop the StreamYard if anybody wants to discuss it. But we won't know who the finalists were unless they announce that they were finalists. We won't know who it is. To end the timeline, they've just had closed door meetings. October 6th, they released an announcement that they're going to announce who the president is on Founders Day. But then on October 10th, they had like an emergency meeting. And I'm guessing that particular emergency meeting, then they decided not to announce anything at all. So the most recent news that I have is that there's not going to be an announcement until they don't have a date, basically. This is dated for October 19th. And it basically says they're not making an announcement. It says no announcements came from IHL on Thursday after it met, and no announcements or meetings are scheduled in the near future on the vacant Jackson State University president's position. The Clarion Ledger reported last week that acting JSU president Elaine Hayes Anthony has not been a finalist or had been interviewed for the position. On Tuesday, she continued to say she is a candidate for the job. I don't have any additional thoughts because I don't know anything more. I'm still committed to Jackson State University. I'm committed to the mission. I am an alum. I love this university, and I would like to continue to serve. So there's no timeline by IHL on their decision. And that's where we're at. That's where we at right now, y'all. Basically, they haven't announced anything. They're not going to announce anything. Or they might just drop it out the sky and go ahead and name somebody. For me, I'm kind of like, what transpired between last week or the last 2 weeks? What transpired that could have accounted for what happened in between October 6th, where they said they were going to announce somebody, and October 10th, behind closed doors, where now they're not going to announce anybody. What do y'all think? I feel like what are you talking about? Nothing. They never intended to announce anyone. No, they will definitely have a president in place and announced by December. They did the same thing with Bynum. I was doing some research and I heard that they had 3 finalists and then they randomly chose Bynum. Whose name was leaked? The only name that I said was Hank Bounds. Because a little birdie, which, like I said, we're not doing the allegedly, but that'll probably be the extent to my allegedly, was Hank Bounds. That he had dropped his name in the bucket. And Hank Bounds, for me, he's a graduate of USM, a graduate of, I want to say, University of Southern Mississippi and Mississippi State. So that was just not a good choice. I think the tragedy had a lot to do with it. Okay, and that could possibly be true. That could possibly be true. Are you talking about Glenda? Are you talking about Dr. Glover? She used to be at Jackson State University. I don't know if that's who you're talking about. Not a good choice at all. Well, this is what I'll say. Jackson State has been through a lot in the last 8 months. A lot. I'll even tag on to when President Hudson was there. We've been going through a lot for almost the last year. Like, it's just been a lot in the media and not necessarily in the most positive light, or it's just been an uproar, you know? And yeah, that Bynum scandal was wow. That was crazy. I think what's even crazier is Bynum still has a pending lawsuit against IHL because he wanted to go back to being a tenured professor there. This is when you can't figure out someone's next move, pay attention to the past behavior. So the past behavior was with Bynum, there were 3 finalists, and for some reason, none of those 3 finalists ended up actually becoming president. They just randomly chose Bynum. Some of these presidents that they chose, let's go over these presidents. I want to go over them real quick before we end the live. So, the university has had 7 different presidents since 2000. And once again, Jackson State doesn't have any type of hand in actually electing some of these presidents or appointing them. So everybody knows Ronald Mason Ronald Mason, he was there for a good little bit, but he was trying to merge the HBCUs. So we all know what they bought him in for. He was trying to turn us into University of Mississippi at Jackson. Then you had Leslie McLemore, who was an interim president. And then they brought in Carolyn Myers. What was Carolyn doing? Did some money come up missing with Carolyn? I forgot what happened with Miss Myers. Rod Page. Bynum. Oh Lord. With the prostitution ring, yeah, that was not good at all. And she should not have 30 million. They should throw the book at her. She should just now be getting out. So I will say this about President Hudson. President Hudson, whatever those personal problems that he had, I felt like the university as a whole, with the amount of money that they were bringing in and the vision, that he was doing a good job of that. But you cannot let your personal problems get in the way of your job. And also, the faculty and staff did not like that he was not transparent. Lack of transparency on what your vision is. Where is it that you plan on taking us? What is it that you have planned for? And Jordan says no to Glover. We should keep Dr. Anthony in that case. Okay. So it's almost like as Jackson State turns, who's next? My final poll that I'm gonna do, because nobody has came up to talk. There's a lot of eyes, but nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to say anything. Somebody said Carolyn Myers was a great president. Is this sarcasm? We can't see sarcasm through this is my thing. And outside of not actually having a president appointed, Jackson State has successfully maintained a large amount of research dollars, which is very important to the university. If you look up the amount of money that is utilized to basically support the university, it's the research dollars. When you talk about bringing in new blood, they're going to overhaul the whole executive office. Some of these faculty members and staff, we don't know if they might talk about budget cuts. It just depends on who it was. So it's kind of like, yeah, let's go with somebody who's outside of the Jackson State circles. I feel like if you're not a part of it, can you really understand the culture? Can you understand the importance of some of these things that you may not feel like they're needed because you're not a part of the culture? You might just be like, we don't need this, scratch that. That's not important. Get rid of that. We're going to cut this. We need to do some budget cuts here and some budget cuts there. So when you minimize some of the things that, because you're not a part of that culture, you might not think that they're important. So when you do that, that's going to be taking a step backward. Myers got that money. Now what she did with it is another conversation. Oh, somebody said that she was a what? Listen, I'm not going to post that. Y'all just read the comments section. Y'all are off the chain. I didn't even read it. Good Lord. What was y'all over here talking about? Y'all over here tussling in the chat. What is going on? Oh, Lord. Dash Myers increased enrollment. That lady didn't steal any money. So they said that Carolyn Myers didn't steal any money. She was just spending it. IHL screwed JSU so many times with these hires. It's a shame. It ain't no way that we should have that many different hires. And the longest tenured president out of all of that was Ronald Mason. Yes, absolutely, Jerome. When you say call in, you mean like on your phone or on StreamYard? Because I could drop the StreamYard. You want to call in? Let me see. The longest tenured president, Ronald Mason, he was able to maintain that position for so long because he was trying to turn Jackson State into Jackson or University of Mississippi at Jackson. Look at that. The one that had IHL's agenda, he was the one that was trying to turn it into that. So you don't think they're trying to get back to that, especially with the water getting fixed? Hey, Jerome.
Hey, happy Monday and happy Founders Day.
Happy Founders Day.
So just real quickly, I'm not going to be on long. I just want to say excellent job again. Number one, with doing your research, providing facts. This is your niche. So I know who to call on when I need some facts. Number two, just kind of addressing some of the comments in the chat. Ronald Mason, looking at someone's total body of work, he was a phenomenal president at Jackson State. Unlike other presidents among HBCU circles, he ran a very tight ship. He is the person that was responsible for getting us to that R2 status and changing the culture of the university to a more research-based institution. Of course, we saw the enrollment grow. And of course, he inherited quite a bit of the heirs settlement funds, but he did a great job of facilitating what that looked like as far as, the next 10, 15 years, giving us a vision. So he did a great job. I'll give him that. We can't label him just from one item that transpired.
And for me, I was actually on campus during that time, so 2005 up until 2010. So I was right in that time frame when they redid the plaza, which was after Hurricane Katrina. You just came back and the whole plaza was messed up and everybody's like, oh my God, what's going on with the plaza? And then, of course, we got the new dorms, the Campbell College Suites. And they redid, I want to say
we got the new student center.
The new student center.
Yeah, and we got the college.
So I think for us, it's kind of just, I think the reason why that sticks out to so many people, it's because it's the betrayal of all skin folk ain't kin folk. Like, this was someone who did so many great things, but maybe he was being pressured to put that together to merge the HBCUs.
Yeah, because if you rewind and kind of go back to what that stemmed from, the governor, state legislature, they announced like around 2009-ish, I believe, or 2010, there were going to be major cuts. Because you got to remember, we were coming out of an economic crisis around that time. Economy collapsed, and they were announcing major cuts across the board to all public institutions. And the governor at the time asked all the institution presidents to come up with some type of proposal of what it would look like to reduce costs. And he never formally submitted that proposal to merge the HBCUs. Someone got a hold of it and they leaked it to the media. But that's neither here nor there. I will say President Myers, she was a phenomenal president as well. Very credentialed, a Black woman having attained a master's and a PhD from Georgia Tech, especially during the time that she did. Georgia Tech was a very racist institution during that time. She's a numbers person. She's a STEM rock star. She did a phenomenal job at North Carolina A&T. And the things that she was instituting at Jackson State, she was definitely cleaning house. And she, every time we turned around, there was a big check. That's what I loved about her. She had resources and relationships. She also had the wherewithal to try to strategize the next 10 to 15 years of what we would look like as an institution. She was aggressively trying to get us towards R1 status. So she was a phenomenal president. The issue with her, she never stole any money. As we all know, in order to use any of your cash reserves, those items have to be signed off by the IHL. So IHL knew exactly where the money, those funds were going towards. We had major issues on campus with the infrastructure. And as you pointed out before, Timona, Mississippi HBCUs are not eligible to take advantage of those federal, what is it, like bonds that other schools like family, you know? So we weren't getting.
I think they said that, I don't even know if it was, I don't think it was DeSantis, but they actually made a change in their legislature to allow that. So to that point, that's why I was kind of like,
yeah,
we do need to vote, but I think it's important to put pressure on them to just make that change, because they're not issuing the bonds. Mississippi refuses to issue the bonds.
Right.
So you don't have to issue it. Just put it in your legislature and make it a statute that the HBCUs are allowed to get that funding. Like, why can't we the bond?
So in there lied the issue. We were facing a lot of infrastructure issues, mainly with the library, and they signed off on it. All those funds were to renovate that library, especially the back portion. But she played chess with them. And what I mean by that is, of course, as you know, with the Ayers case, in order for the three schools to get the final amount of funding, we had to increase our non-Black enrollment by 10%. So what I'm assuming they felt we would never reach that, or it would take us decades. So what she did, being the intelligent woman she was, she opened up a campus in Madison and downtown Jackson. And we immediately met our non-Black 10% enrollment. Therefore, they had to give us that money. So she was playing chess, they were playing checkers, and they didn't like that. On her way out, and the content is still on social media, she posted exactly where the funds went. Everything was itemized. Everything was signed off on by IHL. I say all that to say this, and this is for all the Jacksonians on the call. Please keep in mind that since President Mason left, we were ranked number 12 among HBCUs, and we have since fallen to number 25. Our enrollment is declined. There's some areas of opportunity. I'll just leave it at that. We have developed a culture at Jackson State for the better part of the last 21 years of being a premier research-intensive HBCU and a doctoral institution. We have to keep that momentum moving forward. For anyone that is in favor of any preferred candidate or any candidate, you need to ask yourself, does this candidate have a background in STEM or R1 or major fundraising or enrollment growth or marketing and branding? Marketing and branding right now for Jackson State, more than any other HBCU or college in the universe, in the United States, is so important for us. We need someone who has the wherewithal and knows the importance and the power of effective marketing and branding.
Do you think that IHL would put somebody like that at the helm of Jackson State?
Well, I feel like we had it with Myers because, again, she's the one who rebranded our school logo. She's the one that she hired a firm out of Raleigh, Durham. They came in about 2011, totally redid, our logo, and it was a major rebranding campaign. I do not know who the candidates are definitively, but I want everybody in the chat to ask yourself that question. If the person that you want, taking all the semantics and emotions to the side, the person that you want, do they hold any of those variables or skill sets, or even majority of them? And if your answer is no, then we need to be looking at a candidate who does possess those skill sets. Now, to your question, do I think they will hire someone like that? I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to remain optimistic. But I will say this. It is up to the JSU community at the end of the day. Listen, it's Founders Day. 146 years. We have seen worse days in our history. One thing about our dear old college home, we are resilient. We will make it through, and we will come out on the other side shining like new gold. I need everybody to remind yourselves of who we are, where we come from, and where we would like to go. But in order to go places that we've never been, we're going to have to do some things we've never done before. And I need all JSU alums in the chat to remember you have a duty to support these students. We can't control who they place as president, but we can control our actions on how we support the institution and how we advocate for the students as well as academic programs. So I say all that to say, if you guys have any type of resources or relationships that you can bring to the table to help build a bigger and better Jackson State and to help our students get internships and et cetera, please do so, because this is a pivotal moment in our history. We're 4 years out from our 150th anniversary. This is definitely the time that we need your support. Continue support.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Jerome. You kind of cleared the air right there. We had to just pause right there and take all of that in, because you're putting it into a perspective. The R1 status, of course. And I did mention that there are, the only thing that I would say was there are some people that are already in place at Jackson State University who are doing phenomenal jobs of acquiring those research dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, my only concern is that with a huge turnover or a huge change, are those types of avenues that we have, or those people, are they in jeopardy, or will they feel like they don't want to work at Jackson State anymore because X, Y, and Z?
I'll say this, just to give you some peace of mind. These same individuals have been in place for the better part of, let's say, 20 years. And I say that to say within that time frame, of course, we know how many bosses they've had within that time frame, and they're still there. So I tip my hat off to all of those grant writers and researchers at Jackson State who have truly shown they are guarding the yard by consistently producing. So I thank each and every one of them publicly. And it is my hope that we continue to not only foster that culture, but we show our appreciation as alums. So alums, of course, thee I love, but remember, guard the yard is not necessarily just about football. It's about the institution. We got to guard Jackson State. So if you guys happen to run into any of these individuals, these grant writers and these researchers, please give them a thank you. Please take them out for lunch. Please buy them a drink. Do something, because I'm telling you guys, like Timona mentioned, a lot of the funding that we've been receiving over the better part of the last 20 years, external funding, of course, is a result of their hard work when it comes to research, when it comes to STEM. Um, I will say this though, Timona. Uh, I'm sorry. It looked like you were about to bring someone up on the screen.
No.
Okay.
Oh, I just dropped the StreamYard because they were saying somebody wanted to ask a question.
Okay. Um, for me, um, I am very optimistic about our trajectory. I will say I had the opportunity to tune in to North Carolina A&T's town hall, and their president did a phenomenal job of laying out what it looks like to go R1. Jackson State technically is almost there. Like a large amount of it has to do with the number of doctoral programs you have, and if you're looking to add additional doctoral programs, we've got quite a bit. It wouldn't hurt to add some additional, doctoral programs that would definitely help our chances of getting R1. And I don't think that process will be arduous. We've already got the, of course, fundraising aspect. We've already got the grants and et cetera. And let me remind everybody in the chat, Jackson State, for the better part of the last 22 years, has led all HBCUs in garnering federally funded research dollars and grants. So it's just what we do, right? So all we have to do is just kind of increase that and ramp that up a little bit. Because if I'm not mistaken, last year was the biggest year ever. I think we had over $180 million. Like that. It's amazing, right? So we're on the right track. We just have to have someone in place to fine tune and kind of tweak that kind of journey to R1 status. But there's some other areas of opportunity, such as marketing and branding, enrollment growth, the housing situation. I saw people in the chat say, who can bring in the money to get dorms? Let's be honest, guys. The type of students we have in 2023 across the board, most of these students of today, they're not looking for traditional style living. They prefer like student apartments. So, that's a whole nother conversation, but it's a great opportunity, of course, to kind of kill two birds with one stone. If we build more student apartments around campus, that can also, of course, increase the quality of life around campus and the safety. So I'm very optimistic. I feel like, we're heading in the right direction. I don't want anybody to be discouraged. I know this whole process has been draining, but I feel good that they're taking their time as opposed to what Timona brought up with USM, making a very premature rush decision.
Hey, Miss Rochelle.
Hey, Rochelle, my girl.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing well.
I'm doing fine, but I just want to say this in love is that if we can only, and this is to not anybody in particular, but if it fit, let it fit, and if it don't mess with you, don't be offended. But if all you gonna do is complain and not be a part of the solution, be quiet. If you're not doing anything to help the school, just shut up. If you're not active in your alumni chapter, and I'm thankful that I have one here finally, but just don't say, if you're going to only do things is complain and not help, just hush. If you haven't bought a season pass to the football game, shut up. Just stop. Because this is what I know about us as a people. We don't like change. Change scares us. But we can't work in comfortability. We cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And it is a fearful thing when we may bring someone in who don't know us, but can I just be honest with us? Sometimes I think we need somebody who don't know us because that way we can't try to manipulate them. I'm not scared of nobody on this thing. We do it in churches.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'm saying to myself, I think we need to bring an outsider in.
Absolutely.
To cut some of the fat that we know are being used. We gotta quit playing. So now we're nervous because when we get what we get, we abuse it anyway. So if we want the changes that we're making, I think the other part of this is because we haven't been great, we are really scared of greatness.
Mm.
We think too small.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't believe we can be what we say we want to be, even though we want to be it. But because our mindset is so little, when great things comes, we find a way to make it what our mindset can handle. Jackson State could be an amazing school. But some of us would rather keep it down. Watch this, Jerome. We got some people, and I'm not scared of nobody online or afterwards, even people in positions of power that are much older. They would rather cripple something
That's it.
because they don't know the process.
Mm.
I see it in church. I'm going to compare because old people, some people don't want to give up the power and they would keep stuff down in order for them to stay important.
Mm.
We got to
And
keep
you know
going.
what? And you know what, Rochelle, and you dropped the bomb. So Timona, if you want to drop that bomb sound, uh, Rochelle, I just want to say thank you. First of all, so always great to see you. I want to piggyback off of what you said, though. You mentioned outsiders. I want everybody in the chat to understand the history of Jackson State University has never been us versus them. It's always been a story of we. And our success has been built off of folks who are from Mississippi and folks who are outsiders. And when you look at the genesis of who we are, even going back to H.B. Jacobs, he was an outsider. When you look at the sister who came in and started our meteorology program, she was an outsider. When you look at so many other people, Dr. Mason, Dr. Myers, when you look at Coach Kamaji, all these people were outsiders, but they added value to the Jackson State legacy. So never look at something as if it's an outsider, us versus them. It's all our story has always been a story of we, always been a story of us. As long as someone is Team JSU, that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
So check this out. And I don't trust IHL either, but let me tell y'all something. When you just said something about us, I'm going to give y'all a scripture said a house divided cannot stand. Can you imagine what would happen if every student, every alumni, walked out of Jackson State and we demanded? Because as long as they know we are divided or we don't say anything,
That's it.
y'all don't understand that. I'm saying, can you imagine, like, we are there saying, no, you're going to hear us. But
That's right.
because we really never did that, they don't think we care. Because regardless of what we say, if you don't show me, I'm not going to believe nothing you have to say.
That's it.
So can you imagine if we all walked out and said, no, we're not taking this no more? But see, the reason we don't do that because we have an individual. We came from the people of, and I say this, Jerome, with all my heart, is the problem with us as Black people. Now, I'm not just talking about Jackson State. We have taken on the mindset of the oppressor, individualism. We came from, it takes a community to build a family. We could never do anything by ourselves. But like if you're asking this newer generation to do a march, that's a tweet. We don't know that you're asking me now to, like, we could never have a boycott of giving up the bus because I'm not gonna be inconvenienced. We don't want to be inconvenienced, and they know it. But if we really mean what we say and stand on our principles and don't nobody show up for schools and the teachers walk out and we up there marching, they go see our face all the time until they be like, wait a minute, this ain't the same Jackson State. They actually coming together.
That's it.
It will make a difference. But as long as we are divided, they know they got us. So that's just, all I want to say is that if the thing about this is the fear in us. And I honestly believe because of the oppression that we think we really don't have a voice. But I really believe that if they saw that we was standing 10 toes down as a unit, that we're not divided, it'll make a difference for us.
And you know what? I'm so glad you said that because here in Charlotte, there's a pastor, Pastor Scott. He's a pastor of a very, very big church. He's a JSU alum. He was actually JSU SGA president back in the early 90s. And he told me, I think during senior year, when they were dealing with IHL, he led a march starting from the tower, going all the way down to downtown Jackson. we do have a history of advocacy and activism at Jackson State. I would charge the alums that are in the area there, if you're willing to put on a march and do exactly what Rochelle is proposing, I guarantee you would have alums all over the country catching flights to be a part of that march. The
and
fact that
also,
you guys,
Bakari, like you said, your son has said, if they hire a white president, he's walking out. I mean, he's transferring. I got that. So why aren't the kids at Jackson State, all 9,000 of them, saying we finna march down here together? We ain't gonna take this. Let them be also the voice. Let them stand on our shoulders. Besides them saying, I'm just going, don't leave. Like, they need to see your face and let them know that these kids are really watching what we're doing down here and they're not playing with us. Can you imagine what they would do if they saw all of the kids at Jackson State marching and saying, no, we're not taking this? Oh my God.
and when you look at the economic impact that Jackson State, just even outside of football season, there are federal studies done that have chronicled the economic impact the university has had on the city, the state, and the region. We've got weight. It's phenomenal. So we've got the evidence to back us up in what we're marching for. We need the foot soldiers, the boots on the ground who are there in Jackson. Go ahead and mobilize. Let's get it started. Because like Rochelle just said, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rochelle.
No, I was a brother Bakari. Tell your son to go talk to Jackson State student by the president, and they need to speak up their voices, and they need to walk out their school and go down there whenever they're doing whatever they're doing to let them know we're not playing up in here. Those kids have a better voice, but they don't understand that they do. And if they stand together with this and mean what they say, I think the kids, to me, I've always said that it's the younger generation that's going to make the changes. I just say that my brother Jerome, they don't understand the power that they possess. They don't understand their power, because that's why they're so telling our younger generation that you don't have the power, because they don't want them to know you really got more power than we ever had. It's more than y'all than it is us. If y'all just voted, y'all can do whatever y'all wanted to do. So they make it complicated, and this generation wants it quickly. But let those kids go to their student by the president, and they need to start doing something now and let their voices be heard.
And you know what, Rochelle, to your point about power, I just remember my freshman year at Jackson State. I'll never forget. I was in the College of Business class, Dr. Megan Morgan, liberal arts building, Dr. Megan Morgan's class. And a lady stepped in the room with a note, and Dr. Megan Morgan read it. It was from President Mason. And she said he's canceling classes for the rest of the day because there was a member of the Klan from like the 70s or 60s that was down at the state fair, and he had a booth. So President Mason canceled classes, had all the students come out of their class. When we came out of that liberal arts building, I kid you not, there were hundreds of JSU alums on the lawn. They had coolers, they had sandwiches for us, signs. We all marched from the liberal arts building to downtown Jackson to protest. Within 24 hours, and you can probably find the old articles, within 24 hours, that dude was gone. We've got power. We can get it done, but we need the boots on the ground. We need the local Jacksonians who are holding down the fort in Gardner Yard. We need you guys seriously to mobilize for us, and we will come out and support. I'm here in Charlotte, and I'll buy a flight to come support.
I would have to take a flight from California, goddamn.
And look, I'm bringing Timona with me. So,
but Timona, this was another great show. I just wanted to.
I actually found the article.
Of course you did.
Let me see if I can put it up there so you guys can see it. Racists forced to drop booth at Mississippi Fair.
See?
In 2004.
Plans
Wow.
by a white supremacist outfit known as the National Movement to have a booth featuring Ku Klux Klan figure Edward Ray Killen. Wow. It says Jackson State students called for a march against racism for October 6th and began contacting area students, black and white, to participate because racism is one of the main ways to divide working people, especially when trying to organize. Wow.
See, it's in our DNA. But to Rochelle's point, this newer generation, see, we got it. This is a prime example. We have to tell our story.
That part.
If we don't tell our story, we don't know who we are and what we've done.
And you know what I think, Jerome, and then we'll leave on this one, is that I do believe sometime because we did the struggle, we don't want our kids to struggle, but we also handicap them when we don't tell them the truth.
That's it.
Let me say that again. Because of us, and I know some of us are traumatized, but when you don't share your struggles with your kids think everything is great and everything is all good, and it's not. And we're actually doing a disservice to them because we're not giving them the skills to learn how to fight that. We crippling our kids. I'm done. Okay. Let me I gotta go do more.
Wait. Announce your talk about your podcast, Miss Rochelle.
Oh, okay. So thank you. For those who didn't watch yesterday, on second and fourth Sundays, I have a podcast at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the first one we did was about September, which was Suicide Awareness Month. And then from that informational, one of the supporters from the KC 1400 came forth to let us know that her nephew died by suicide in February. So yesterday we did one on domestic violence, and it was amazing. But can I tell you how many responses I've gotten from people saying, thank you so much for talking about that? Next podcast will be why you move the way you move. What's your attachment style? So I'm going to actually give everybody a test to take, and then we're going to talk about it, because everything we do, we don't do by happenstance. It's either something that we've been taught or something that we saw. Watch this, in our childhood. So you are the tree to your childhood, what's in your roots. That's what we're going to be talking about on the next one. I'm really, really, really excited. Thank you, Tamona, so much for helping me. But I've even gotten people letting me know they are in domestic violence relationships right now. So it was very eye-opening, and the women were very honest about what they experienced. And it's just time for us to have some uncomfortable conversations. So that's going to be my theme of what we're doing. And it was truly a blessing. So again, Tamona, thank you so much for helping me. And if you guys have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. I know everybody can't do therapy. I know everybody can't afford therapy. So if I can drop nuggets that you can begin to help heal yourself, then I'm good with that as well. So thank you so much for letting me speak.
And Rochelle, before you go, Tamona, I sent you something. I think it'd be very fitting to share that on the screen in honor of Founders Day.
Okay.
And I just want to, if you wouldn't mind reading that, and I'll give a little background, and I'll go ahead and give you your show back.
Okay. Just hang on.
So as Tamona is gearing everything up, for all the Jacksonians in the chat, you guys may have heard of one of our former presidents named President Dansby. When you talk about amazing leadership and what we come from as a people, as Jacksonians, this letter and in the backdrop of what happened moving forward is just a testament of who we are, and very fitting for Founders Day. Tamona, you're on mute.
Okay. My dear President Dansby, our education committee and our board yesterday gave very careful and prolonged consideration to the situation at Jackson College. Mr. Turnbull was also here and made a verbal report in addition to his audit, which was before us. We know that insufficient money to meet the current expenses of the school has led to incurring debts for general operation in the form of bills for commodities and the like. But we also note a tendency on your part to engage in major expenditures which are unauthorized, such as the installation of a gas and purchase of a truck. The Home Mission Society also finds itself unable to appropriate a sufficient sum of money to give the school adequate support for the current year, and in view of these circumstances, vote to close the school September 1st, 1934. The board has made no appropriation to cover any salaries or bills after that time. They requested Mr. Bond, chairman of the board of trustees, to wind up the affairs, and enclosed you will find copies of 2 letters which I sent to Mr. Bond. We had greatly regret this unfortunate termination of an honorable record as a school and would continue the school if possible. If the Negroes of Mississippi had really wanted this school, they could have rallied to its support long ago and saved the unfortunate result which has come upon us.
So, a lot of buzzwords in there, a lot of strong language. I will say this, the way that we responded, the faculty and staff at Jackson College, they decided to go without pay. The West Jackson community, especially the churches, they rallied behind that honorable school, quote unquote. Students began to do a lot of service for the school outside of going to classes. And it was because of the hard work of the community, West Jackson, the church community, and those faculty and staff going without pay. The state saw the importance of the school and the love for the school. And the state ultimately stepped in and gave us public status, public funding. I want you guys to be reminded, we have come through darker days. We are a very resilient people. And it is my belief, Jackson State University is anointed. I feel like it is one of God's favorite institutions. And he has clearly shown us time and time again throughout our 146 years, he has his hand over our university. Do not be dismayed. Do not be discouraged. We will continue to thee I love. We will continue to excel. So on that note, I want to say happy Founders Day to everyone. Please get active in your local chapter. Please get active with the National Alumni Association. But more importantly, please get active with Jackson State University. Thee I love.
Beautiful. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Wow. If the Negroes of Mississippi had really, do y'all see that? And it's and they put it in italics, they italicized it. That's why if the Negroes of Mississippi had really wanted this school, they could have rallied to its support long ago and saved it from this unfortunate result from which has come upon us. And this is, was this 1934 or 54?
34.
This is in 1934. Okay.
I think what had started happening is that because I think I actually remember, I don't know if it was Brother Bakari or if it was Mr. McGinnis. I think what happened is we were getting too powerful and they didn't like it.
Of course.
So they pulled the funding back.
And you know what, Timona?
Like they're doing now.
You know what, Timona and Rochelle? It's so amazing. Like the stuff that I'm finding out about our founder, H.P. Jacobs, how amazing this brother was. About 10 years after our founding, he wrote a letter to the board because we forget he and his wife actually taught at Natchez Seminary for quite some time. He wanted to move forward with offering mechanical education, i.e. engineering, legal studies, law, and medical. You guys got to understand, it's in our DNA to be great. It is in our DNA to demand more. So with his letter, and that letter was from 1886, and we're looking at this letter of 1934, I want to say to all Jacksonians, it is perfectly fine to want more and to demand more from our dear old college home because it's in our DNA. We know we're destined for greatness. I want you also to know we have to get out of the mold of only trying to get funding and support locally and statewide. We have to look externally. And that is a culture that we've been able to adopt over the last 10 to 15 years. We've gotten a lot of external funding and support. Let's keep that mindset moving forward.
I agree. Oh my gosh. And the other thing, just the last note is that, and this gonna help us make sense when I said it takes a community, a village to help raise us, is that even though we like the thing about $40 a month, if we all did that, that's $12 million. And for me is that every little bit, if we all work together, would definitely make a difference. And we can, every little bit counts. So if you can do the 40 by 40, can you imagine $12 million that we have and we're getting it from ourselves? So what it really tells that we can't rely on those people to help us, but we can damn sure help ourselves. And that's what we mean by when we come together as a family, as a unit, we are unstoppable. And back then, back then though, unfortunately, Jerome, the only people we had was ourselves. So we didn't have a choice. You see what I'm saying? Like, well, I'm gonna end on that because that's my little pet peeve. But now we don't rely on each other. And again, we have taken on the oppressor's mindset. So I'm done.
Amen. All right, Simona, thank you so much for having me and Rochelle. Again, happy Founders Day, everybody.
Founders Day.
I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Have a great night.
Talk to you later. All right, Miss T, I'm out. Is she still there, Timona? Timona. Well, listen. Who is that? Why are y'all saying Mason was merging? I thought he was merging HBC. Listen, Dash. I don't know who Dash is. Dash, they've been trying to do that to us forever. They've always, so for you, I don't know who Dash is. I know y'all know they can't stand the fact that Jackson is the capital of the racist city, and their capital is all majority all Black. Do y'all understand how much they hate that? Like, that's crazy. Miss Timona, are you here? But every time I think about that Jackson State, the capital of the racist state in the union.
Sorry, you guys.
That's okay. HBCU and done. So yeah.
I think Ken Clark's show has started. So KC 1400. But this was an amazing show to end on.
It was. That was great. For sure.
So I want to thank everyone for coming on. And
all right, I'll holler at you later.
All right.
You too. All right. Bye.
Thank everybody for coming on tonight. Happy Founders Day. And I love. Y'all have a good night.
Bye.